This video contains spoilers of the Greek era of God of War. The Norse era I will not talk about yet. Some other time. And yes, this is a re-upload, but you know, YouTube, age restriction, blah blah blah. I've edited it out, so it should be good. Anyways, history is truly something special, wouldn't you agree? It allows us to learn from those who lived in the past, whether it is through their successes or failures. These failed tales can be all from actual historical happenstances or fictitious writing, both being equally educational, like the small fable The Boy Who Cried Wolf, teaching us that our words have weight and importance, and if one were to devalue their own, no one would believe them when it truly matters. Or something a bit grander, like the Iliad, the Greek tragedy on how pride and hubris can bring destruction upon oneself regardless of how powerful one may be. Now, stories throughout history has changed quite a bit in how they're told, from oral tales told around the campfire, the written form, to then the more visual medium, watching great films, and finally today, the interactivity of video games. As we all know, a game developer's primary focus should always be gameplay, and anyone who actually disagrees with that isn't actually it. That being said, there are games out there that has quality in both of these pillars, and one franchise has consistently done this. Being, of course, gaming's most famous Greek tragedy, God of War. Like every Greek tragedy, it is all about an individual with great power of some kind. And the protagonist of this series just so happens to be one of the most iconic video game characters of all time, who first came to the scene in 2005 with the game called God of War, and is still going strong with a soft reboot that released in 2018 called God of War. God, I hate when developers do this. To make sure no one gets confused during this video, I will call the 2018 title Dad of Boy.
Boy, boy, boy. Boy, boy, boy.
What is interesting about the soft reboot is the fact that it takes place in Norse mythology, which to me is pretty amazing, as I am a Norwegian Viking boy myself, having it serve as a sequel to everything our hero experienced during his Greek roots. And Dad of Boy not only gained a ton of new fans, it also put more focus on showing us how this great warrior turned from a rageful, vengeance-seeking monster to the more stoic, stern, and reflective Dad of Boy. Okay, maybe it will get a bit confusing. The point is, the new direction of the series was a fantastic decision by the developers, and I absolutely love this game, feeling extreme hype for its sequel, Ragnarok. However, there is one thing that I, a fan of this franchise, excessively despised when this game came out, and that was the discussion surrounding it, and how so many people have the idea that to raise something up, to elevate its greatness, you have to push everything else down.
This is a character from the era where, like, you know, dads don't cry, basically, right?
Now that they have added complexity to him, I can't ever see me in my perception of Kratos going back. How did I ever feel like Kratos of old was enough?
This depth and complexity transforms Kratos from the previous God of War games as flat embodiment of the bloodthirsty warrior cliché into an internally conflicted father.
They managed to endow this character with like humanity and nuance.
Oh yeah.
And they've done something here with a character. They've turned water into wine.
You didn't play the other God of War.
Very limited experience.
Yeah, just a bit
very,
with
very
3
limited.
or something.
I played the demo of 3.
Because of this stupidity, I decided on exploring why Dad of Boy turned as successful as it did, as in my opinion, this story, this narrative, only stands out from the crowd of dad simulators because of the past of its protagonist. So, having said all that, let's head into the mind of Kratos. Like I do with all my analytical videos, I will begin by laying out the chronological timeline that we will follow. Not only to make it easier to keep track of everything, but also to create some consistency with my content, as my upload schedule definitely is anything but consistent. So, it goes like this. God of War Ascension, the black sheep of the console games. Yes, I said earlier that this entire franchise bops, but we're speaking relative here. Compared to the other games, it's a bit of a letdown. After that, we follow with Chains of Olympus, followed with the OG, continuing with Ghosts of Sparta, to then explore the brilliant God of War 2, and finally ending it with God of War 3, the deicide simulator. And no, I will not talk about Betrayal, the mobile game. Didn't find anything interesting in it, nor the novelizations of the games, as there are too many inconsistencies. As I said earlier, this video will just focus on the Greek era of the character, so no dad of boy. But there will be some stuff from the Viking saga that will be brought up to show evidence of this and that. Also worth noting is, many games explore what happened in Kratos' youth, so that will of course be our starting point, and there are some extra media out there, like a comic book where I will mention some stuff, but again, the games themselves is the primary focus. So let's finally begin with the story of the ghost of Sparta. And that is indeed where we grew up, the city of warriors, Sparta. While there is a small chance that he was born in another town, I can't really say, as they did retcon a few things from the first game's bonus features, Kratos still is the perfect representation of how a man of Sparta should turn out. Historically, the young boys of this place was immediately put into warrior training, and if they were unfit for that, they'd be sent off to the mountains to either gain the strength they lacked or die trying. The girls' role, while being more independent than other places in Greece, was to be formally educated and then have the pride in bearing as many boys as possible to become the mothers of champions. Or to become just a minigame for Kratos to enjoy in the future.
I like big butts.
For our young hero, he lived with his mother, Callisto, and trained with his younger brother, Deimos, who had a truly spectacular birthmark. Who his father was, he did not know, nor did he care, and while that mysterious individual is important, I will come back to that later. For those who don't know, or can't wait, here's a small hint. The only thing the youth could think about was obviously to help spread the glory of his home and war god, while making sure that his more timid family member did not forget what it truly means to be a Spartan.
A Spartan warrior never lets his back hit the ground. Even in death, a Spartan stands tall for battle. You are a Spartan, are you not?
Yes, Kratos.
And everything seemed perfect for the two boys, but war always comes to those who covets it. As one day, a small army of centaurs attacked their home. The brothers, while having trained their entire life, was confused of the seemingly random invasion, but their frozen state was quickly thawed when the two leading said army arrived. Two beings that held a fire so hot that it could sear through the coldest ice. Before anything could be explained, Deimos was grabbed by the larger figure, having Kratos' big brother instinct go into full overdrive, only to be punched by a fist the size of his whole body, scarring the young boy for life. But it wasn't just a physical wound, as after the other shadowy figure argued something in a language he could not understand, two words would echo aloud as his little brother was lost.
Forgive me.
It's already both Greek and tragic. Haha, what a start! And it was this that started our subject's journey to become the greatest warrior that Greece has ever seen. Wanting to never fall like that again, he not only trained till his very bones broke, he proved to be truly something extraordinary. And years later, to make sure he would never forget the one he couldn't protect, he tattooed himself in his brother's birthmark's image. So yes, he might be most remembered these days as Dad of Boy, but he will always be a bro of bros. If there's one thing Kratos cares about more than the glory of his people, it is the love he has for his family. As when he became an adult, he got a beautiful wife, Lysandra, and with her, he got the greatest treasure a human being could ever get their hold on, a daughter, who he named Calliope. Now I know what you're thinking. I recently just said that the people of this warrior city want boys above all else, so obviously, this wouldn't make our rising Spartan champion that happy, right? This dad of girl knows only love! Love for his city, love for his people, love for the lost, and love for his family. A true, hopeful, and wholesome father. And what better evidence to show his dedication to his little daughter, as when she was born, she had the plague, and according to Spartan customs, any child born with illness would die. Brandishing his blade towards his fellow warriors, he stated that he would find a cure, the ambrosia of Asclepius, claiming that the gods of Olympus would help him. Asclepius? Asclepius? Asclepicus? What he didn't know was that the gods indeed took an interest on who would be capable of finding this cure, many of them deciding who would be their champion. And one Olympian in particular chose Kratos, the god of war, Ares. Now, while there's a lot that happens on this labor of love, I will primarily just mention a few important things he goes through as he's killing his rivals, while looking for his prize. One being the fact that other Spartans showed up wanting to help him, and our man fully agreed to this, showing even the will to keep every soldier alive. He also takes a moment to reflect that regardless of how much battle he has been through, no matter how many women he has had in his bed, it wasn't until he met Lysandra where he truly felt content with his life. This realization making him fight with greater vigor in hopes of protecting this happiness. And this journey was also the first time he met a man who during the race for the Ambrosia was the champion of Hades, the barbarian king Ulrich, who sought the cure for his father. Like every other champion on his path, the Spartan beat him to a pulp, which eventually leads him to what can save his girl, making him rush back in full speed to heal his little Calliope. But this was not the only prize of happiness that he got on his return. Kratos was granted the title of captain by the king of Sparta himself. Worth to note that wifey was able to convince the monarch in allowing all of this to happen, as her husband did actually get there a bit later than promised, showing that Kratos really married someone who is not only a fine ass, but a smart ass! Is that a compliment? I don't. He now had it all. A beautiful wife who allowed the warrior to feel contentment with life. A perfect daughter that he spent all of his free time with teaching her of the world and helping her with small hobbies, all while being in a prime position in raising his city's glory. We don't know that much of what the captain accomplished during his conquests, aside from the fact that he truly took care of his men, which is echoed even all the years later in Dad of Boy. But speaking of the boy, it was also in one of these journeys where Kratos met a Spartan warrior known for constantly smiling, no matter how difficult things got on the battlefield. A warrior that had such an impact on our protagonist that when this lone soldier died, the captain himself buried the body. And that Spartan's name was Atreus, which we all know he named his... Getting back from that of the husband of wife started to get more greedy, reaching for greater challenges, which caused the wife of husband to try her hardest in stopping him on this path of war, as it no doubt would lead to child of dead dad. But Kratos isn't really known for listening to others.
How much is enough, Kratos? When will it end?
When the glory of Sparta is known throughout the world.
The glory of Sparta.
Though while she could convince her king, no such luck did she have with her husband, as one day, finally the great Kratos and his army met their match. Their barbarian horde led by none other than the old champion of Hades, Ulrich. Seeking vengeance for his late father, this Conan-esque figure defeated our hero, pushing the tattooed man into the ground, ready to finish it all. But where this normally would just be a defeat in the history books, the exhausted man couldn't allow himself to die like this, so hoping that he could change his fate, he shouted out words that would haunt him forever. Words that would move mountains and the earth itself in the future. Kratos roared to the heavens, naming the god that once chose him as a champion, the god of war. Ares, the god of war, the deity that any Spartan proudly dedicated themselves to, descended from the fiery sky, almost as if he had waited for a moment like this. The mighty being granted this lone warrior his request.
My life is yours, Ares. From this day, I shall carry forth your will.
Using his great power, he destroyed the entire enemy army, then giving Kratos the strength he asked for while also serving as the chains connecting them together, the Blades of Chaos. And with these terrifying weapons, the champion decapitated the barbarian king, sealing his contract with blood, but also sealing his fate forever. Immediately set out to do his master's bidding, Kratos was ordered to do anything from petty assassinations to all-out destroying armies. Of course, just because he was the champion of Ares, that does not mean that he went at it alone. His family safe in Sparta, he still held the city's banner up with his brethren. We also know, with the dialogue from the war god himself, that he trained this beast in combat on how to truly destroy human beings, to the burning of flesh, to the breaking of bones. To be fair, these blades aren't conventional, so the idea that someone could just wield them effectively just out of nowhere seems a bit stupid.
Zeus, your son has returned!
Exactly how long he fought for his god, we do not know, but he did enough to gain extreme infamy for his actions. People being scared just to hear his name or feeling pure terror and hopelessness if they were to catch his voice. Some would even rather die than being close to him. A true monster. And one day, in a small town with a temple dedicated to Athena, Ares' sister and rival, the Horde came to their doorstep, and only one mission from their god.
They've built this temple to offer prayers to Athena! This entire village stands as an affront to Lord Ares! Burn this village! Burn it to the ground!
Having this be a regular Tuesday for this group, the boys destroyed the village, which eventually led to the Temple of Athena. But something rubbed him the wrong way as he stood outside. Maybe it was the weird oracle preaching that he would never be able to take back what he's about to do. But who knows? What Ares wants, Kratos does. So even with his sixth sense going haywire, he enters. But the ambition and greed that has consumed him so, he cannot see what he's doing until it is too late. As when the haze is gone, he looks down at the bodies and sees his family. Lysandra, his wife that brought him inner peace, and Calliope, who brought him the greatest happiness, which now was all gone. Before he truly could question what was going on, why they were here, the answer came to him.
My wife, my child, how? They were left in Sparta.
You are becoming all I'd hoped you'd be, Kratos. Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing will hold you back. You'll become even stronger. You will become death itself.
I doubt I need to say this, but while Ares might be the god of war, he's not the god of common sense, as Kratos immediately renounced his lord, promising that he would make him pay. But no matter how one looks at it, the Spartan is to blame just as much, making the oracle curse the man to have his family's ashes cover his skin forever, creating the ghost of Sparta.
And with that curse, all would know him for the beast he had become. His skin white with the ash of his dead family. The ghost of Sparta had been born.
Fun fact, do you see how long this video has gone on for? Yeah, it's first now we finally get to the actual games. Well, whatever. The first game we're going to talk about is, of course, Hot Shots Golf!
I am the god of golf!
Sorry, what I meant to say is God of War Ascension. What he did after the Greek era, we will explore another time.
I will not hesitate. Die.
Setting off to break the bond that is chaining him to his savior, Kratos quickly realized that something was wrong as his own mind started to battle with him. Whether it be visions of being other places, or even seeing Lysandra quite alive. And the reason for this would be those called the Furies, who are the guardians of honor, the keepers of oaths, the bane of traitors. These three are more ancient than the Olympians and even the Titans, meaning of course that they served no one. Back in the days they were fair and brought judgment down with the idea of true justice. However, all of this changed after they met with an individual. And yes, this would be the machinations of the god of war, Ares. How Kratos learns all of this is through Orcus, the son of the Fury Queen Alecto and the war god, who helps our boy through this entire journey. While not fond of the idea of working with the enemy, he still at the same time can sympathize with those who have been through a great injustice, while still being conflicted with the idea of betraying one's own family.
The way they treated him, their own son.
That is no reason to betray your own.
Betrayed his own? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But he did it because of you.
I did not ask for his help.
But you received it nonetheless, didn't you, Spartan?
But that mindset quickly changed when the half-Fury told the reason for this betrayal, telling Kratos that Ares did not choose him on a whim, but that he had planned to do so from the very beginning. The son of the god of war learned from his lover, the Oracle of Delphi, that his father had brought the Furies into his ambitious master plan of overthrowing Olympus. After the Olympian learned of a prophecy of a marked warrior destined to destroy Zeus, he originally tried to get a son with Alecto in hope of being said warrior. But when that proved to be a failure, he saw an opportunity when his father sent him and Athena to find this child. Of course, seeing a young boy with such a specific birthmark, the god of war took Deimos from his family without knowing that the other boy, which he marked himself, would become his ultimate weapon. We will get back to what he did with the younger of the two, but when several years had passed, he saw his chance in the captain of the Spartan army and had him swear fealty. Now, we have already been through all of this, but what truly made Kratos' rage flow through his blades was when he realized the second phase of his old master's plan. You see, he might look like a mere brute, but he is no fool.
To make you beholden only to him, Ares and my mothers devised 3 blood tasks. Spill the blood of your enemies. The blood of the innocent. The blood of your very...
The past is the past, Orcos.
As we know, didn't really turn out this way.
Ares!
Huh?
Please be aware that the Furies and the monster need Kratos to fulfill their plans, so it's not like they're after him to end his life. At first they try the classic stuff, throw in a couple of boobs and ass, and any man will fall in line, like they would fall in bed. But the Spartan only truly felt happiness and contentment with his wife's boobs and ass, so pleasure of the flesh will not work. Their second approach is our boy's original vice, ambition. Having him believe that with every victory he achieves, he personally will be remembered in the annals of history. But as we also know, is that our protagonist never really cared to have his own name be glorified. His ambition only being to build
Sparta!
So, there is something you value more than ambition.
In the end, they do come to the most efficient form of manipulation.
If this is what keeps you in service to Lord Ares, then this is what you shall have.
It is not real.
But this only reinforces his resolution, as it is better to live in horrible truth than a sweet lie. So he fights, killing off Megara, Tisiphone, and finally Alecto. Yes, Ares smashed that. Up top! Destroying enemies is simple for a warrior, but ending the life of a friend? That could never get any easier. So when he learns that he has to kill his ally, Orcos, to finally cut his tie with the god of war, it breaks him. Together, they were both tools, molded to be the perfect slaves for their master. So having to slay one more innocent does not sit right with the Spartan. But knowing that the alternative would be far worse for the both of them, they finally severed their last chain, making all illusions, all falsehoods vanish, creating the pristine memories that would haunt Kratos to the very end of his days.
The painful truth rushed back to Kratos' mind. The truth of the murder he committed, the slaughter of his wife and child, the carnage forged from his relentless ambition, surfaced in perfect clarity, and became the visions that would haunt him all of his days.
Burning his old home, knowing that he would never return to such happiness, he set off in hope to get his vengeance on the monster that ruined his life. Killing a god is no easy task. Yes, I know, we'll get there, bear with me. So to accomplish such a great deed, the ghost of Sparta pledges himself to Olympus. He knew that if he did so, it would eventually lead to a confrontation with his old master, and if anyone had the power to remove the horrible visions of his past, the nightmares, it would be the Olympians. Hence why he puts his hopes on them. So going from the chains of Ares, he was now under the chains of Olympus. Segway, baby! Now, this little PSP experience that takes place roughly 5 years after joining the good gods doesn't have that much worth looking into. We do learn small things like the fact that this lone warrior only feels respite of his past when battling in the streets or under the sheets. We also learn that, while the gods are his only hope, he still views this entire ordeal as just slavery, as they just send him around to fix issues all around Greece. Or the fact that when the sun itself vanishes and the black fog of Morpheus puts all Olympians into a deep slumber, the only thing that gives him any ounce of urgency is when he hears something that shouldn't exist.
He recognized it as the song of his daughter, Calliope.
Calliope? My daughter, where are you? Calliope!
During his quest to find the sun, S-U-N, Helios, the marked warrior meets with many others who are chained to Olympus in some capacity. The boatman Charon, the broken titans, Atlas, or even the queen of the underworld, Persephone, and all of them share something with our redemption seeker, the fact that they suffer, and most likely never will have any happiness no matter how much they work for the gods. Yet, the Oathbreaker still fights for his overlords, as following them is his only hope.
I will serve them, and they will keep their promise to free me from my past! I ask you, Spartan, what good is the promise of an Olympian? It is all I have, Atlas!
This really is tragic, isn't it? And what is else pure heartbreaking is a decision the Spartan has to make when getting to the underworld. Finding Persephone in her palace, he learns that his little girl resides in Elysium, the afterlife for the good and pure. So Kratos is willing to do everything in his power to be with Calliope. Gaining access after removing all his powers, he finally has a moment in his life where he can be happy. Where he can be the father, not the monster.
Calliope!
Father?
My child.
Why did you go?
I am here now, child. And I will not leave you again.
But as I said, he has to make a tough decision, as he learns quickly after losing his strength that it was indeed the wife of Hades who had planned everything from the beginning with the god Morpheus and the Titan Atlas to destroy the world, to free themselves from their chains. This will cause the consequence of ruining Elysium, meaning that his greatest gift, the proof of Lysandra's love, will die again because of his selfishness.
No! I will not let the gods take her from me again!
Father!
To gain his powers back, the ghost of Sparta rips the strength from other souls in the afterlife, showing to himself and his daughter that he will forever be just a monster.
No! Father, no!
At that moment, Kratos knew his destiny was not with Calliope. The fates were never that kind.
So after smashing Hades' wife and forcing Atlas to gain some more muscle, Kratos was able to finally save Helios, meaning that the Freddy Krueger of this franchise loses his hold over the world, to which I am certain that the Sun God will repay this kindness in the future.
Wait!
After having saved the world and suffered the loss of his daughter a second time, the only thing this man can do is still restlessly serve the Olympians, with the hope that they will grant him his wish. And adding 5 more years to his service, he finally, after killing the Hydra, is given his ultimate task: to defeat the God of War. "10 years. Just nightmares and visions of that horrible night. These painful memories could plague Kratos at any moment in time, whether it be in his dreams or when seeing something that would even slightly remind him of the monster that he was, that he is. This has taken a toll on him, as one can see that early in his career he genuinely cared for people, reaching out for those who might need help, to now wanting to push everyone and anyone away from him, as they merely stands in his way. There are times where we do see the kind man he once was.
Monster!
Wait!
Stay back! Get away from me!
But all acts of compassion is only met with fear. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, has been the one to try to lead the Spartan to a brighter road, and finally, this path has led him to Athens, where her brother has laid siege. The king of Olympus, Zeus, has ordered that there will be no infighting between the Olympians. However, as we know Ares' true plan, he did not give a crap, personally waging war against his family. So instead of creating a battle that would destroy the world, it was decided that Kratos would finally have his vengeance. But killing a god is not something anyone can do, even if they were personally trained by one. Walking through this once magnificent city, the champion of Olympus could only wonder how one could save this burning place. But such thoughts would vanish immediately, as after gods know how many years, Kratos finally saw him. The grave news is most of what he got in the city, as when he met with the Oracle of Athens, he learned that the only way a mortal can kill a deity is with Pandora's box, which is in Pandora's temple, which is on the Titan Kronos, who is in the desert of... Okay, point is, it's going to be a tough journey, which is why, during this adventure, many gods are giving Kratos their powers. Like Poseidon's rage, the army of Hades, and Zeus's thunderbolt, all of which are necessary tools to win over the man who trained our hero. Fast forwarding to the temple, the warrior goes full Indiana Jones by moving through the traps and dangers of the ancient place. He also shows us the idea that if you have a purpose in life, regardless of how horrid it is, you got to face it with honor, even if one is just to be a sacrifice. Yet even with this mindset, there's only one thing he can think of himself.
By the gods, what have I become?
Running through hoops and pits, eventually the prize is found. After the worst horde mode section in the entire franchise. God, I hate this place. Kratos moves to get the box back to Athens. Wait, what?
So, little Spartan, you've recovered Zeus's precious box, but you will not live long enough to see it opened. I will see to that. Goodbye, Spartan.
Ares got his hands on the only tool capable of destroying him, while sending the ghost of Sparta to his death. Though the afterlife would not be a release, as even there he would have visions and nightmares. So through pure willpower and hope, he fights to get back to the land of the living. And by the gods, do you need willpower to get through this platforming segment.
Your mother. Fuck. 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 Fuck!
Climbing up through a grave, which had been cleared up by a gravedigger, who may or may not be a god in disguise, the old captain slowly made his way to his destination. A destination he has sought for over 10 years. He has fought beings older than any god, he has suffered more than any man, and he finally stands before the only thing that can bring him the peace he has dreamed of, the hope that burned within him, even in the darkest night. He stands before the monster that he hates above all else, the one who saved his life, Ares.
Kratos, returned even from the underworld. Is this the best you can do, Father? You send a broken mortal to defeat me, the god of war?
The husband of Lysandra, the father of Calliope, finally opens Pandora's box. What it contains, he does not know, nor does it matter to him, as it is his only hope in truly breaking the chains of suffering.
You are still just a mortal. Every bit as weak as the day you begged me to save your life.
I am not the same man you found that day. The monster you've created has returned to kill you.
You have no idea what a true monster is, Kratos. Prepare to join your family, Spartan! You should have joined me, Kratos! You are no warrior. Is that the best you can do?
This fight he has wanted for over 10 years, but that does not mean victory will come easily. The war god trained the Spartan. The deity of destruction is even feared amongst the other divinities, and the destroyer knows the champion's greatest weaknesses. Sure, the ghost of Sparta's mind and body is covered in different mementos of his old mentor. The scar over his eye, the chains around his arms, the tattoo of his kidnapped little brother, and the ashes of his family. But Ares knows that there is one person Kratos hates even more than the god of war. The individual beneath all of those reminders.
Kratos! What's happening? Where are we?
By the gods, can this be real? Burn this village! Burn it to the ground! Ares! There is nothing you can put in my way to stop me! I will save my family!
You cannot save Kratos. Do you feel the rage that drives your blades, Kratos? All your strength comes from me!
Kratos, please take us home!
But as we know, what was done all those years ago cannot be undone. In great rage, Ares rips away the warrior's magic and tools, including the Blade of Chaos, aiming the weapon at the first victims whose blood our hero could never clean from his hands. Kratos witnessed the death of his family once again.
Oh, not again.
You should have joined me, Kratos!
Yet this day, he had something he lacked all those years ago. Grabbing hold of the ornamental blade bridge of Athena, Kratos finally is willing to fight his old master with something different than rage. Something more powerful than any strength the war god gave his champion. He might have lost his signature weapons. He may no longer wield the magic bequeathed from the Olympians. No, at this very moment, he only has his determination, the power Pandora's box bestowed, and most importantly, the hope that he can redeem himself.
Spartans! You cannot defeat me, Spartan! You test my patience, Spartan!
I lost everything because of you!
Remember, Kratos, it was I who saved you in your time of greatest need.
I haven't forgotten, Ares. I remember how you saved me.
That night, I was trying to make you a great warrior.
You succeeded.
From being a mere captain to a godslayer, Kratos had done the impossible. Having saved what remains of Athens, he did what the other gods had asked of him, meaning that he not only destroyed the being he hated above all else, he now will get his nightmares and visions removed. Right?
Athena, rid me of the memories that haunt me still.
We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
Having accomplished his goal for revenge, he had nothing left to live for. If life would just be the memories of his past, what hope would there be for a future?
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no hope.
And Kratos cast himself from the highest mountain in all of Greece. After 10 years of suffering, 10 years of endless nightmares, it would finally come to an end. Death would be his escape from madness.
But having not finished a sentence, I guess, the goddess of war claims that everything he has done requires an equally great reward. So while giving the pained man new weapons, the blades of Athena, she also granted him the title God of War.
God of War.
What a goddamn amazing end to a goddamn amazing story! My lord! I cannot believe... Oh, we're not done yet. Oh, that's right, this is a Greek tragedy. We can't have a happy ending. Now we gotta really break him down. So let's continue with the journey with the PSP game Ghost of Sparta. Before we jump into part 2 of this video, however, I think this is the perfect place for a small break. So this video is sponsored by absolutely nothing. Please like and subscribe. Please, I require sustenance. Please, I'm begging! We don't know exactly how long it is between the rise to godhood and the actions he takes during this game, but we do know that he was accepted with open arms in Sparta as their new god, all of them openly praying to him and view him as one of their own. So yes, he do have people who praise to him. Odin!
Why'd you twist my words?
So begins the second part of our hero's journey. Starting off as a mortal man seeking revenge on a god, to now being a divinity seeking his past. Since the residents of Olympus didn't remove his haunting visions, one keeps coming back to him that was from a time even before being a man.
My little wife massaging my feet.
The time when he was a boy. Different now, however, is the fact that these new memories were more than pure visions. So having made up his mind, Kratos went off to find his answers in the city of Atlantis, even if Athena is practically begging him to stop.
This is not a wise course of action, Kratos. It was a dream, nothing more.
The visions still haunt me, Athena. The visions you promised to take away. But this vision, I can change.
Getting to Milo Thatcher's future home, the god of war was quick in finding the Temple of Poseidon, where after suffering another vision, he met with his mother, Callisto. Now, we don't know when in the past she vanished from Sparta, but we can see that Kratos finds this to be unbelievable. Nor can he believe his own ears when his mom says that Deimos, his brother, is still alive and trapped in the domain of death. Being angered that she never told him of this before, she claimed that his father forced her to keep quiet and that he also sent her to Poseidon City.
My father? Who is my father?
Wait a minute. Hold up. Something ain't right. I might jump ahead a bit, but it is not until the original sequel when our hero learns of his parentage, yet there's clearly a reaction shot here. Plus, this entire scene was in the original game's bonus material, so these two scenes, how can they work?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe the writers weren't communicating with each other.
So all the people out there who are finished the game and have gotten this and have said, oh, what the hell? The extra movie said that Kratos' mom told him that Zeus was his dad. I I don't care.
Wow, Corey, you can't just...
Is the ash that covers Kratos fading over time?
A little bit.
Dude!
Of all the families Kratos has had, where does this one rank?
Number 1.
Let's just fall back on that the very moment the old lady tried to utter a name, the curse laid on her bloomed forth, turning her into a monstrosity, meaning that Kratos had to spill his family's blood yet again. Though while Callisto had sought this peace for the longest time, for her son it only added to the inner flames of hatred he held for the world, making him do what I'm sure any child of a mother would do. Sink Atlantis.
Atlantis was sinking. But that mattered little to the ghost of Sparta.
What further angered him was the fact that if what his mother said is to be true, that means that Athena, his only true ally on Mount Olympus, lied to him.
Athena!
Don't let your rage blind you, Kratos. There is much you do not know. Be warned. They will all try to stop you.
Knowing that he had to return to the city of Sparta, as his mother instructed, the destroyer of Atlantis went on his way. On this road, a few things happened, from noticing that the daughter of Thanatos was hunting him, allowing the god to have some final words with a proud soldier.
Elysium. You are a Spartan. Even in death, you stand tall for battle.
Thank you, Lord Kratos.
To having a rather deep conversation with the same gravedigger that helped Kratos back during his quest for Ares' life. And knowing what we do, this is pretty much the king of Olympus, making it quite clear that if this new war god follows this path, it will only lead to death. So moving forward, he just kills Death's daughter to prove a point. Reaching his home of Sparta, he walks amongst his people, seeing the future being trained, the women working to improve the culture, and the men keeping all safe. And as he's on his way to the temple of their previous god, he comes across his old family home, which makes him truly realize something. After all these years, having lost his own humanity to his ambition, having lost his wife and daughter to his inner monster, and so recently to now having lost his own mother, he still could save his little brother that he failed all those years ago.
Deimos, I will find you.
Hurrying on, the god of war slays the Piraeus lion, brutalizes the last follower of the old god of war, and finally reaches that Olympian's temple, arriving just in time to vibe with the boys.
Down with Ares! All hail Lord Kratos, the god of war!
All hail Lord Kratos!
But becoming a god of war was never a wish of his, so when entering these hallowed halls, all he could feel was great apprehension of what he truly has turned into.
Kratos stood in the temple of Ares. It was a somber reminder of who and what he had become. The ghost of Sparta, the god slayer, and now the very person he had once despised. The god of war.
Anyways, after beating the fudge out of the ghost of Spartan's past, who looks awfully a lot like Jimmy Hopkins, he finally has gotten the tools needed to get to Thanatos' home. He also is given his old weapons from one of his most devoted men. He doesn't have a name, but he will have an important part to play later on, so, you know. Like any good classic video games, the Ashen One backtracks to Atlantis, only this time having some of the gods a bit more frustrated with his behavior, like Poseidon swearing that the desecration of his city will not be forgotten anytime soon. But the conversation that I truly care about is that Athena tries to explain the logic behind Deimos' kidnapping, telling him of that old prophecy. And one can see that for a small moment, she's actually getting through to her old friend. But
Forgive me. Forgive me.
You were there. Why? Why did you help him?
I was there for you, Kratos. You had to be saved.
You should have saved him. I should have saved him.
And this is the point where Kratos cannot even lean on Athena anymore, tired of her lies and riddles. So, like the ghosts of Sparta always have been good at, he rushes towards his goal, killing monsters, exploring dangerous areas, giving a hand to Midas, until he finally, in the god of death's domain, finds his lifelong lost brother. Cutting him down from his restraints, the oldest son of Callisto tries to help the younger man, but being tortured for an entire lifetime does not make a calm individual, so in rage and blinding fury, Deimos attacks his older brother, showing us a true battle between siblings.
I will never forgive you, brother. Hate you, Kratos!
Surprisingly, the younger of the two wins this little squabble. I would say, if I didn't have the greatest piece of evidence revealing that Kratos let him win. The game achievement. Though before Deimos could celebrate, Thanatos drops in, grabs the victor, and jumps down back into the world of the living. Yet no matter how exhausted, no matter how broken, Kratos would keep his promise in saving his family. Finding themselves where our protagonist once tried to take his own life, he rushes to save his brothers, this time being able to reach for his hand. In this moment of companionship, all hatred vanished within, finally allowing the siblings to reconcile, deciding that now they truly have to stand together.
A Spartan never lets his back hit the ground. Right, brother?
I will not lose you again.
Giving Deimos the weaponry he used during his mortal days, the two-marked warrior went to challenge death itself, who seems so entertained in the idea that Ares chose the wrong child all those years ago.
Ares chose poorly that day. Nothing you do is of your own choosing. The gods do not decide my fate, Thanatos! The gods decide, and the Sisters of Fate make it so.
While hard to believe that two individuals who have been separated their entire lives can be this efficient together on the battlefield, that does not take away from the pure badassery the two sons of Callisto are showing. All from Deimos rushing in with the spear, or Kratos with his blades of Athena. But while fighting together can allow one to be protected, it is also required to protect others. And when our boy sees the monstrous being is about to hurt his little brother, he jumps in and takes the hit. Deimos quickly recognizes that to save his friend, to save his savior, he has to put himself in the hands of death once again. Though the primary difference now between the two siblings is the fact that only one of them is a god.
Deimos!
Once again, Kratos stands over his family. A family he couldn't protect. He thought that this time it would be different. He was no longer chained to the evil of Ares, so maybe things could have gone his way. He had that hope. But life wouldn't give him such happiness, and now that everyone else is gone in his life, all he had left was rage. Destroying the personification of death, the ghost of Sparta lifts his dead brother into his arms and moves up the mountain. Almost as if expecting it, the gravedigger was already there, preparing the resting place for the one who has suffered for so long.
You are
Though while he keeps adding on to his own guilt, his hatred for the gods has finally reached a boiling point, promising Athena that the Olympians would pay for this great lie. The lie that caused him to lose his first family. Walking back to his throne of war, his mortal past all but gone, shown with the 2 graves by the mountains, the only thing that remained was the god of war. For the next few years, the army of Sparta started to conquer many cities in Greece, all for the glory of their god. They're even so proud of what they're doing that the Spartan we saw earlier contacts our boy in pure glee when they're about to win a battle. But with every city fallen, the greater the frustration of the other gods get. Athena, being the fantastic woman that she is the only thing placating them, but even she has her limits. Which finally leads us to what is considered to be the brightest game in this franchise, God of War 2. First of all, I'm happy that these 2 gals still have their jobs. Good on them. Second of all, this new great war of Kratos on Greece is not that different from his ambition he once showed all those years ago. Now, only instead of being directly on the battlefield, he looks down on his enemies, like the man who made him into a monster. And if there is one thing I absolutely need to make clear, is that where in Ghost of Sparta he held the self-reflection of what he had become, it is not until this game where we can see that he is just becoming a splitting image of his old master. So it is not to anyone's surprise, excluding Kratos of course, that the gods can't have another Ares on their hands.
Athena! You conspire against me!
Having now a bit of a challenge, Kratos fights against not only the soldiers of Rhodes, but also its Colossus. While some of his strengths were taken away, being a god obviously makes it easy for him to survive even the greatest of punishment. Probably still annoying being flung around everywhere though. Yet while trying to figure out the most effective way to destroy this annoying Statue of Liberty, something rather questioning happened before the man's eyes.
And then along came Zeus. He hurled his
Olympus.
Sus enters the picture, claiming that he wants to help. The reason for this being surprising is the last time the King of the Gods helped Kratos, at least that he is aware of, was during the quest to destroy the previous god of war. So why would he suddenly, do something so small like this, want to help the Ghost of Sparta now? Obviously, our hero should know that putting all of his godly powers into the blade that stopped the Great Titan War would be a pretty bad idea.
Do you see, gods of Olympus? Do you need more proof than this?
Okay. It seems his building rage has given him a bit of a tunnel vision, but...
You?
Yes, I am forced to attend to this matter myself.
So the Lord of Olympus makes it clear to our man that after everything our hero has done, he had to act as the very security of his reign is being threatened. We of course have seen the extreme destruction that the angry boy has wrought, so to some extent one cannot really disagree with this point. But he states that he is willing to put an end to all of this if the god of war kneels to Zeus, becoming a servant. Now, we know that's something the Spartan will never accept considering his past, so while still being exhausted and having his divine strength stripped, he is willing to fight to the...
It did not have to be this way, my son. This path is of your choosing.
A choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves.
Even now, as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me?
The father of Heracles states that the cycle ends here, to which he, with a swipe of his blade, kills everyone around him, leaving the bleeding warrior to die. Though the only thing our protagonist could see when breathing his last was all of his regrets and mistakes, gaining some semblance of consciousness when hearing the voice of Gaia, the mother of the Titans.
Who are you?
am the Titan Gaia, ever-present Mother of Earth.
Mother Earth herself tells Kratos that she and the others of her kind will help him get his revenge on Zeus, as they hold nothing but hatred for the Lightning Lord. So with their magical energy, and possibly the hidden power of Pandora's box, he was able to once again climb up from the depths of Hades. And after a few promising words to our Spartan boy who survived, thank God, our protagonist is on the move to find the once mentioned Sisters of Fate.
Your only hope is to find the Sisters of Fate and travel back through time to the moment Zeus betrayed you, for only then will he truly be vulnerable.
Whoa, wait! Time travel. In this kind of story. Okay, writers, but you're playing with fire.
Go! Listen now.
I don't care.
After learning a bit of Zeus's backstory and the Blade of Olympus, Kratos finally arrived to the Island of Creation, the whereabouts of the Fate Sisters. Now, throughout this game, our man meets other men who are going through their own great struggle to overcome their own destinies, like Perseus, who's trying to save his love, Icarus, who hopes to reclaim his own lost life. There is Theseus, who is a bit different in wanting to just protect his masters.
I doubt you're capable of killing me.
But the most interesting encounter is with the old barbarian king, Ulrich, who brought himself back to life with pure determination and an inner hatred he held for the Spartan. Holding the same dislike for one another, our boy was quick in dealing with him. And the weird boat captain from God of War 1.
No! Not you again!
Another meeting of great importance, which happens after gaining the Golden Fleece, so you know why he now has a golden arm, is Atlas. Yeah, the dude from Chains of Olympus, and he shows clear hostility to the Ghost of Sparta, only willing to listen when the small rage monster makes his mission clear to him. It is from this lexicon where the marked warrior learns a bit more of the Great Titan War, before gaining some of the Titan's power, allowing him to continue on his way to the Sisters. After having a wonderful conversation with some scholars, Kratos ends up having a legendary battle against an unknown soldier in the darkness. Someone who, while not nearly as powerful as the God of War, shares determination, will, and skills. One could even assume that this was a man of Sparta.
You? My lord?
It is through this Spartan, the last Spartan, that the Ghost of Sparta learns that the city of Sparta, his home, the only thing he had left after his family's death, was destroyed by Zeus. And so the final action of the gods of Olympus did what Ares tried to do all those years ago.
Now you are all that is left. I have faith that our brothers of Sparta will live on through the true God of War.
Zeus! Is this how you face me, coward? I am through doing the bidding of the gods! Come down here and face me now, Zeus!
Having nothing left but his blinding rage, the monstrous creature almost kills the final son of Sparta. But as he's about to lose himself, something within takes shape, seeing his burning home and the woman he loved above all else.
I am so sorry, my love. Can you ever forgive me?
This vision is actually Gaia, trying to stoke this newfound bitterness in the broken man, telling him that
Zeus will torment you still. He will not rest knowing you live. And when you die, his brother Hades will see that your soul is tortured for all eternity. You will have no rest until you destroy him.
Using her powers to infuse the warrior with the flames that took his beloved city, she does one final push that creates what the previous God of War never accomplished to make out of the Ghost of Sparta. The personification of rage that would have the power to destroy Olympus.
I started blasting.
Angry, yet determined, the Ashwite warrior finally made his way to the Temple of the Fates. Like another group of siblings we talked about, there are three sisters. Ugh, oh my god, okay. Lachesis, Atropos, and finally Clotho. Aside from the fact that they are powerful and even more ancient than the gods, there really isn't much to discuss when it comes to them as characters. So the only thing I'll mention here is that they probably have the best boss fight in the entire series when it comes to pure gameplay. It is cool that Atropos brings the protagonist back in time during his fight with Ares and having to protect the sword that saved him that day, but it's just a badass fight. After such a long journey, meeting everything from beings of great importance to those chained to the gods, Kratos finally got his hands on the power to go back in time. And yes, while a lot could be said about the fact that he didn't keep spinning that stupid thing, I take this more of the perfect example on how blinded he has become in his wish for vengeance. Once, he would have given everything to turn back time. But now that he believes that there is no hope, all he can see is what he wants to destroy.
What? How can this be? The Sisters of Fate have aided you. Unexpected.
The sisters are dead.
Finally, he stands before the king of Olympus, the man that caused his little brother's disappearance, the individual who allowed Ares to get away with all of his atrocities, and now the creature that destroyed Sparta just out of spite. The Spartan would have his revenge. Lightning bolts, fiery chains, and a blade made of earth and heavens. The marked warrior screaming out that he will be his opponent's end. And yeah, the once mortal man is winning.
Not let you destroy Sparta.
You cannot do this, Kratos!
You dare stand against me, Athena?
I do not wish to fight you, Kratos, but I will defend Olympus!
But before he can destroy the Lord of all, Athena, Kratos' once only ally, runs in to save her master. And before he can react...
Stop!
Athena! No!
Kneeling down with the dying woman, rather than pursuing his weakened enemy, he asked why she would sacrifice herself, only to learn that if the king of the gods were to die, it would cause dire consequences and the fall of Olympus. But she also did not want him, her friend, to kill his own father.
His own son.
His son?
Just as Zeus was compelled to destroy his father, Kronos. You are compelled to do the same. No son should destroy his own father.
No, I have no father.
Having made up his mind, Kratos has finally decided on what must be done. If they will deny him his vengeance, he will destroy everything! So using the Loom Chamber one last time, he returns to when the Titans lost against the Olympians, saving them from their demise, bringing the beings to his final war.
Zeus, your son has returned! I bring the destruction of Olympus!
Here we are, the final part of the Greek tragedy of the Spartan warrior Kratos, God of War 3. To understand God of War 3, one needs to understand the pleasure of punching the shit out of someone. No wait, to truly value the story of God of War 3, one needs to value the pain of the innocent. Cake! Alright, here's the deal. God of War 3 is an ending. It's not a standalone story, nor is it a side quest. It is a full-blown conclusion of this character's journey. Because of this, it is imperative to understand not only how our protagonist got here, but also know what this truly means. From the very beginning of this narrative, Kratos was groomed by Ares to be the weapon to destroy Olympus, and no matter how much he fought against his chains of destiny, no matter how much he tried to just protect and save those he cared about, he still ended up here. The entirety of this finale is all about the suffering caused by the ghost of Sparta, not by the previous God of War, not by the denizens of this mountain, nor even Zeus himself. It is all about Kratos. So keeping that in mind, let's finish this. Climbing Mount Olympus with the Titans, it does not take long until there's an all-out battle with the gods. Helios attacking with his chariot, Hades going edge mode, and Poseidon looking to settle the score with the Spartan that destroyed Atlantis. Which goes as expected.
A true warrior does not hide, Poseidon!
Watch me!
Brutalizing the Lord of the Seas, we see the consequences of killing such a great god, elevating the very ocean, drowning cities and its people. We personally get to see Athens suffer this, the same city Kratos protected with his life against the fallen one. And here, there are no regrets. Also, while you may not think about it, Sparta has most likely also drowned by this action. More suffering at the hands of the son of Zeus. And speaking of Zeus, climbing together to the top, Gaia and the champion stares down the king of the mountain.
What more will you destroy? The hands of death could not defeat me. The sisters of fate could not hold me. And you will not see the end of this day. I will have my revenge!
Please, allow me to do this just one last time.
And then along came Zeus. He hurled his thunderbolt.
Ending up once again in the realm of Hades, after being betrayed and chastised by Gaia, clearly this will not come back to haunt her, Kratos was immediately met with Athena, who claims to have become something far greater than any Olympian through her sacrifice. Actually showing some pain by seeing her again, they decided on working together to bring down the Pantheon, telling him to find the flames of Olympus to gain the power to kill Zeus. And giving him a new pair of blades, she states that she now understands what needs to happen for the betterment of the world. To which he answers with something rather dark.
Mankind suffers.
Let them suffer. The death of Zeus is all that matters.
Suffering is what we see in the underworld. And a few letters shows us that many people ended up here because of the Spartan, all from lowly individuals that just stood in his way, or his own flesh and blood. He also, in this screenplays, do come across a few individuals, who just so happens to be family. Hephaestus, the smith of the gods, and his daughter, Pandora. While the conversation between the two fathers have their moments as they can find some common ground in both being despised by the other divinities, learning here that he should never physically touch the flame of Olympus, it is with the girl he truly gains some enlightenment. We'll get back to this a tad bit later though. Only thing worth mentioning at the moment is that he first believes her to be Calliope, only to be disappointed when that is not the case, and after reclaiming the blade of Olympus, he calmly states that he cannot help her.
Everyone is afraid of you.
There are reasons for that.
I'm not afraid of you.
It is good you're not afraid, child. Fear is a heavy burden.
I'm not a child, Kratos.
It does not matter what you are. My concerns lay elsewhere.
Kratos, please. I need you to free me.
The quest for freedom is also a heavy burden. I cannot help you.
Now, anyone should know that if one is trying to leave the underworld, one would most likely face the lord of this realm eventually, whom has a lot of bad blood with the Godslayer, stating that the Spartan will get what's coming to him in retribution for what happened to Persephone, and so death arrives.
Your soul is mine!
With the death of Hades, the great consequence here is the fact that all souls are cursed to forever walk the earth, never knowing peace. So, that's just wonderful. Good job, the hero? First drowning the world and then forcing the dead to just linger. This is more of a villain arc. Wait a minute. Regardless, meeting back with the smithy before leaving this dead place, the slayer of the undead king learns that right after he destroyed Ares, Zeus changed to a fiend, almost as if it was magic. Hephaestus also asked the Spartan if he could help him finding his daughter, Pandora. Kratos, having a bit of a tunnel vision these days, refuses on spending time in doing that, causing this comment to bury deep.
You, Kratos. You can bring her back to me.
Your child is not my concern.
But surely you can understand. You were once a father, too.
Getting back to the land of the living, again, Kratos goes beast mode. Finding a wounded Gaia, he disarms her for her earlier betrayal. He shoots down Helios from the skies, having a nice conversation with him.
You must step into the flame to receive its power.
You lie!
The demise of this god causes the sun to darken, creating a massive storm. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Last time the sun dimmed, the black fog of Morpheus swept through the world. So, why isn't that happening? Well, the only mention of this thing is the unlockable Morpheus armor, which can only be obtained when someone bought enough 7-Eleven Slurpee cups to get 10 points to purchase a costume from the Slurpee websites. What the fuck? Alright! Let's stay on track. While we can see that our protagonist clearly does not care for anything that is happening to anyone, again, going back to what he said earlier, he still shows an extreme soft spot to children. As when he comes across Pandora, once more, who asks him again for help, he speaks calmly and almost comforting to the girl, even making it clear that he is someone one shouldn't trust, as he does not trust himself.
I told you, I cannot help you.
You're the only one who can. I know it. I trust you.
You shouldn't.
So he keeps moving forward with his massacre, dunking the Titan Perseus and getting verbally dunked on by Hermes, and finally sees that a flame of Olympus is in fact Pandora's box. Understandably confused, Athena decides that now is the time to explain what the chest actually contains. Would have been nice to know everything all the way back when he first opened it, but at the time she was on the Olympian side, so This construct made by Hephaestus held two things according to the old goddess of war. The first being the power Kratos used against Ares, some ancient great evil born after the battle with the Titans, that if left unchecked would destroy the world. Fear, hate, rage. Alarmed for what could happen if it was opened, Athena put the second thing in there as well. What she would see as the most powerful weapon in the world. And that is what they need to destroy the king of the gods. But how does one remove this lethal flame?
Pandora.
She is the key to destroying the flame. The key to our revenge. This will be difficult, Spartan.
A simple child will not trouble me, Athena.
I hope you are right, Ghost of Sparta.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Immediately dealing with Hermes, the god of speed, causes a massive plague upon the land, which at this point is just salt on the wound, really. Kratos comes across Hera, the wife of Zeus, and technically the stepmother of our hero.
You look terrible there.
The queen, however, is a mother, not a fighter, so she has made a master plan in stopping this destroyer of worlds. And as a 90s kid, I am fully with her on this, as she is sending in none other than Hercules.
So great, the gods would hang a picture of him in the stars, all across the sky. And people would say, that's Phil's boy.
I will beat the odds.
Disappointed!
Getting back on the hunt, the man who puts the Glad in Gladiator eventually gets into contact with the daughter of Hephaestus, who quickly tells him that she is locked in the labyrinth before getting taken by...
Stay away from this thing!
Zeus! Zeus!
Making him immediately smash Aphrodite! Well...
Aphrodite, I knew you would return to me. Kratos. Tell me, has Aphrodite conquered another god of war?
That is a question you should ask your wife.
Up top? Telling the Smith god that he seeks the labyrinth, the civil conversation quickly turns sour. Hephaestus showing pure aggression, roaring out that Kratos are not to get close to his daughter. But seeing that the ghost of Sparta is not one to care, the father suddenly does a full heel turn, telling the warrior that he can make him a weapon that will help defeat the king of Olympus. At first, our protagonists seem disinterested, but eventually agrees to find what is called the Olympus stone, that is in Tartarus. What the dude doesn't tell our boy is that there is a very angry Kronos waiting behind those gates.
Enters my tomb, Kronos! I live in torment because of you. After you took the box from Pandora's temple, Zeus was consumed with fear. I was tasked by the gods to kill Ares. You killed Ares out of your need for vengeance. But this time, retribution finally comes to me, Spartan.
Can you kill something that big?
My boy.
Having gotten what's needed, the smith quickly went on to make this magnificent tool for the soldier, a weapon strong enough to...
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, you dare? You dare? My beautiful Pandora. Please. Spare Pandora, forgive me.
In all seriousness, it is important to know that while Kratos is not fond of any kind of betrayal, this is actually one of the very few times where he does not hold it against someone, as he later says to the smith's daughter,
Hephaestus did what every father should do, protect his child.
Which I think is a fantastic unveiling of his own inner torment, of what he himself would do if he was put in the same situation. Right now, however, he is truly frustrated with all of the interruptions. He does eventually get to the Garden of Hera, where the drunk woman is both angered and sad of what the son of her husband has turned her into, but while he has no interest in dealing with those who can't fight, she pushes some buttons that one should never push. The daughter button.
Good luck with that little whore you call Pandora.
Actively looking for a girl who needs help has started to open a dark place deep within himself. His parental instincts. After the death of Deimos, his entire journey, his entire mission has been on finding someone to destroy. But now he is looking for someone in need of help. Yes, she is needed to be a key to remove the flame of Olympus. But the very act of seeking Pandora allows this inner father to return, ever so slowly. The death of Zeus's wife causes all plant life to die. Just saying it so you know, the world is half beyond belief, but there it is. Finally getting to the labyrinth, the ghost of Sparta is quick in finding the child, after sacrificing Daedalus, the father of Birdman from GOW2. And almost immediately, the Spartan goes full dad mode, not only in keeping her safe, but also discussing life lessons. The conversations stare into the idea of hope, and how the fear the gods felt only filled her with this positive reinforcement. The ash-covered man tells the little girl that hope is just for the weak, those who can't act themselves to get what they want, which causes her to push even harder.
Hope is for the weak, Pandora.
Hope is what makes us strong. It is why we are here. It is what we fight with when all else is lost.
Kratos was once filled with hope. The hope of saving his little daughter from the plague. The hope that his great nightmares would vanish by working for the gods. The hope of saving his little brother. But the only thing he gained from these dreams was suffering and pain.
This is what hope delivers, child. You should learn that now.
After pushing the great labyrinth up to the great chamber where the box is, the god of war suddenly feels a great apprehension of what's about to happen. This little girl in front of him, who has throughout his entire battle with Olympus believed in the man, begging him to be her savior, is about to give her life just to satiate his ambition. Many years ago, he saw his own daughter being engulfed by a great flame, and the father refuses to let that happen again. He would not fail Pandora.
Pandora, no!
You know why I'm here. You brought me here to do this.
I will find another way.
No, Kratos. There is no other way. Let me go!
No, child!
I am not a child. You're hurting me. Kratos, help!
And there he stands, the man who ordered the kidnapping of Deimos, the man who had Callisto taken from her home, the man who burned down the great city of Sparta, the man who through great paranoia brought only suffering and pain to the ghost of Sparta, who at this point only sees one thing.
I see only what I have come to destroy.
Taking pity on you has been my greatest mistake, Kratos. Just as taking pity on this thing will prove to be your greatest mistake.
This has nothing to do with her!
It has everything to do with her!
Put her down!
As you wish.
As the great battle continued, Kratos noticed that Pandora was about to jump into the fires herself. Quickly running to her, the man used all of his strength to keep her from harm, even when she wants to fulfill her own destiny. But while his inner parent is indeed strong, there is one feeling that has completely consumed this broken man. A feeling that Zeus brings back in full force.
Kratos, you know this is the only way!
Don't listen to her, Kratos. For once in your pathetic life, don't fail. Don't fail her like you failed your family.
Pandora!
After all you have sought, after all you have sacrificed, it ends in another stunning failure.
Rage. Hatred. The most intense negative feelings you can have for someone, and that is what consumes Kratos. Running after his father, they stand before the ruined world, engulfed in the chaos of revenge. Yet as they prepare to end it all, Gaia came out of the blue. They both were quite surprised, all things considered. But whether it be Zeus mentioning Deimos, or Mother Earth trying to squish him, it all leads to the heart of the Titan, where the prophecy of the marked warrior will be fulfilled.
Kratos. I'll put an end to this chaos.
Gaia and Zeus are no more. Removing the blade of Olympus from the body of the king of the gods, the Spartan turns to leave to...
I grow weary. And I will be your end.
The Lord of Olympus would not be satisfied with merely killing his son. No, he wants him to suffer. And he knows that the one who causes our hero the most despair is himself. Locked within his own mind, the ghost of Sparta experiences all of his greatest nightmares, from the voices of his past to the visions that has haunted him for so long.
Stay close, Calliope.
Mother, I'm scared. Are they coming to get us?
Your father will protect us.
Man this village! Ban it to the ground!
Daddy? Kratos! No! No, Father, no!
My wife. My child. How? They were left in Sparta.
But while in the darkness, there is a small light there, represented by Pandora. Whether this is her actual spirit or something his own mind has conjured up does not matter, as it leads him through his inner despair. This light shows Kratos that his greatest challenge was never to fight the god of war, or Olympus itself. It was never to destroy anything. No, this light shows him that to truly move on, to truly remove the horrible visions, he has to do the hardest thing imaginable. He has to forgive himself for everything he has done. The murder of his family, the death of his only ally, and all else. Because if he can move on from the past, he can look on to the future with hope.
Is what makes us strong. It is why we are here. It is what we fight with when all else is lost.
Though, what future there can be in this world is hard to say. I suppose in some sickening sense, Ares got what he wanted. Good on you, God of War. The previous goddess of war, Athena, shows up, and together they come to the conclusion that Pandora's box was empty because when he opened it all those years ago, the strength he got then wasn't the great evil, but the power of hope. The darker content is what corrupted all of the other gods, turning them into such cruel monsters, filling Poseidon with rage, causing him to hurt even those he loves, making Hades full of hatred, who sought vengeance for what happened to his family, and bringing Zeus great fear, having him act out in paranoia. It also explains why the ultimate power of hope seemingly vanished after the fight with Ares. When the Spartan believed that his visions and nightmares never would end, how could he hold on to it? It wasn't until he forgave himself, allowing the memories to stay but not be chained to them anymore, where his strength resurfaced. But he understands that, while one can be forgiven, one still has to be held accountable for the actions one has taken. So he knows that there is one final thing that must be done, and that is to finally take his revenge on the person who truly started all of this. Hearing Athena claim that this power should belong to her, he turns.
My vengeance ends now.
You fool! What have you done? No!
Piercing the blade of Olympus through himself, he allows the great concept within him to flourish out into the world, making it not combined with a singular individual, but rather become part of this ruined, broken land. He has taken so much at the cost of others, so in his final moments, he gives the only thing worth giving: hope.
You disappoint me, Spartan.
Kratos' journey is a story on how someone of great power and prestige can lose everything in their extreme ambition. Born into a loving family, he lost them to the fear of the gods, gaining a wife who could bring him happiness, and gifted him with the greatest treasure of all. He lost them to his own thirst for power. And when given the opportunity to save those he once lost, he failed them once again, because of what he perceives as his weakness. All of this turning the once proud, happy Spartan into a ghost of his former self, hating everything and everyone, but higher above all else, hating the monster, that is, himself. Losing all hope for any kind of happiness, any reprieve, the marked warrior lashed out against the world, never caring if his rage would hurt the innocent or otherwise, and at his worst, all he wanted to do was take at the cost of others. But no matter how great the dark fear grew, no matter how much the anger and hatred clouded his vision, that still was never enough to completely smother the light hidden within. As while it took an entire pantheon to turn him into the monster that he was, all it took was one girl to remind him that no matter how dark it may seem, hope will be there when all else is lost. And so in the end, the ghost of Sparta realized that the vengeance he sought for so long never gave him the peace he dreamed of. It was when forgiving himself, moving on, that he understood that he could finally look forward to the future, hoping for some good. And to some, this world may look far too gone, too broken to save. But this one man learned that no matter how dark it is, no matter how lost all may seem, there is still some hope out there. And that is the mind of Kratos. Hi there, thank you so much for watching my video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. As some of you may have noticed, this is a re-upload because YouTube, well, they didn't really like my original upload. It's still out there, so if you want to see this video without the blurs and the censorship, then by all means watch it if you have already verified your age on YouTube. Anyways, I'll continue making content, and again, I'm sorry that there are like 2 samey videos on my channel, but I really like the original. Anyways, see you later!